hopping and a bopping and a singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet. Blow rockin' Robin, 'cause we really gonna rock 'em tonight.
Nevermore Bookstore with Larry.
Come on in.
Thank you. This is Larry Bradley. I'm following into the store now. You see this open sign, and it's right over here by this wonderful Northeast Kingdom Auxiliary. The Eagles. Or the Eagles is here. I'm sorry about that, Toby. Oh, I'm walking in. If you don't feel at home anywhere else, you will definitely feel at home here at the Nevermore Bookstore, because Larry makes you feel at home. Hello, everybody. Guess what? Welcome to Life is Good. I'm Heather McKeown, your ever-loving hostess, and we have a show lined up for you tonight. Now, usually what I do is I hold up Nevermore Bookstore. What would you call that? Some kind of a business card, but it's got the Nevermore Bookstore logo, and I talk about Larry and this fantastic bookstore here in Newport. And guess what? I have Larry, and we're in the bookstore. And I'm so happy. I'm usually here just as a customer and someone who
No, it's
loves...
great to have you. It's good to see you as always.
You've got quite a life story. You live in a log cabin.
I live in a log cabin. I write.
Mm-hmm.
I own a bookstore.
Dream come true.
It is. It really is.
You're an award-winning poet.
I am. A little bit.
Mm-hmm. But of all the poetry I've read that you have written, my favorite was the one you published last week.
Oh, the daily poem for the month of April, for the National Poetry Month.
Yeah, but it was the one that...
I can't even remember. I know I saw
I
your
read,
comment on
it was just the best. I wish I could remember it, folks, but if possible, I'll have Kelby, our editor, put it on the screen afterwards so you can read it too. It said an awful lot, and you say an awful lot. You're very important in the community.
Thank you.
As a former town librarian, I know the importance of books.
Oh, books are very important, and I'm just glad that I have the opportunity to share my knowledge, share my wealth, so to speak, of what I know about books, and I get to just share that with the community. I enjoy it very much.
Every book you've ever recommended to me has been a keeper.
Good.
And even when I buy books for my son or my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
they're keepers for my kids too.
Good.
Because
Good.
you've got everything in here. If you books are expensive in the real world, and even on Amazon, books are expensive in the real world. And if you can come into this store, you see things and learn things that you never would have if you were just looking
ordering
online.
online at Amazon.
Yeah, I totally, even though I've got a book on Amazon, I'm not going to promote it here because it's on Amazon. And I come in here and I feel right at home.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you do.
I do. First time I was here, first thing I said was, I'm home. And you can wander around here and Larry will tell you, based on who you are, what he thinks your personality might enjoy, you will learn a lot from Larry. And so it's like coming to a professor without the professorial attitude.
Attitude. It's
Yes.
the attitude.
No, you've got a good attitude. You've got
No,
good.
thank you.
And it's a cliche, but you've got good energy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You do too.
I just
I
have
mean,
energy.
this is not a mutual,
I just have energy. which is-
admiration society.
You know what I'm looking at right now? I look at some titles over there. Conspiracy of Fools. Right beside Lenny Bruce, who was my favorite comedian as I was growing up, even though I was only 8, 9, and 10 years old. Lenny Bruce was an iconic, brilliant man, and I adored him. And my father brought his records home from New York City and said, never tell your friends what you hear on this record.
Wow.
But he's right about so many things. And I see that book. I'm going to buy it before I leave. It's okay. So now, we're here to talk about the wonder of your bookstore, but the people you attract to this bookstore are myriad. Every personality profile.
Every personality profile, personality type. I get a lot of people who come in that we don't necessarily see eye to eye. And that's fine.
It is.
It is fine. It's what makes it a nice nice place to come to. It's what makes it a nice place to live in, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it too.
Good at these interviews.
You're doing very well.
Okay.
I'll try and think of a question. Like,
No,
what's the capital of Ethiopia?
Oh God, I don't even know. Somalia.
Sounds good.
Like
And you know,
Addis Ababa.
Addis Ababa. Yes,
You're
this
right.
is true. But you know, there's one in every crowd. But whatever. Anyway, we're here to talk about something very serious today, though. The joy of reading books is soon to be taken from us in many regards. So Larry, in his infinite wisdom, and those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it mentality,
Definitely.
Larry's opening a banned book section. I mean, that's I'm going to hang out there. I'm going to hang out in that section forever. Let's talk about some of the books that are banned.
Well, some of the books I have that we've pulled off the shelf are very surprising. Some of them not so much because you already know that.
Let's go through them one by one.
Okay,
if we
well, you
can.
have Gone with the Wind,
Gone with the Wind. And
Which
it's not
is-
about weather, folks.
which is surprising that that's been banned. The Harry Potter series, the whole Harry Potter series has
Because
been
of
banned.
witchcraft?
Because of
I
witchcraft.
want to go to Hogwarts when I grow up. I mean, really.
Hemingway,
I,
Ernest Hemingway, of course, F. Scott Fitzgerald.
what did they ban of Hemingway?
Sun Also Rises.
Oh, really? Was it because the Earth moved? I mean, I've been hoping for that experience forever.
Oh, we all have, honey.
I'm just going to pick some out here.
Just randomly pick them out.
Oh, sorry.
D.H. Lawrence, you kind of
Get
suspect.
out of town, yeah.
You kind of suspect, okay,
Lady
Lady
Chatterley's
Chatterley's lover.
I mean, Lady Chatterley had a lover. I mean, who doesn't? Oh, yeah, me. But
Aw.
I'm kidding. I'm making light of a very serious subject. The first thing that was taken away in the book Wicked, or in 1984 even, I think, by Orwell. Well, in Wicked, let's say the book Wicked, which was a very, very good play. But
Right.
people laughed at what was happening in the play. But in actual fact, the book was very dramatic. It took me 1 year to read it because it was so difficult. And it was about the language being taken away from the intellectuals because they were animals and they were forced to go back to speak in their own native tongue, whatever animal they were. And they were muted and censored and returned to ignorance because the choice was death. And when people ban books, A Lesson Before Dying, that has to be one of the best books I've ever
I know.
read.
I know.
And I loved it so much. And
know.
A Child
As I
Called
said-
It. My God, these are reality-based books. These are
Those are-
books of people that happened. And we can't deny history.
No, we can't. This is a brutal book.
Oh, it is. It is.
The whole story, the trilogy that he did,
Yeah.
is just amazing. I mean, it's an amazing book.
About child abuse.
But A Lesson Before Dying, some of these, like I said, I mean, you're going to be not so surprised with some of them. I mean, Lady Chatterley's Lover, Women in Love, Sons and Lovers by D.H. Lawrence. Okay, you can sort of see those. But White Fang,
White Fang by Jack London. We took this in school, and I'm Canadian, so I mean, White Fang, why?
I have no idea.
I can't answer.
Okay, answer.
It was banned in Yugoslavia and Russia back during the
The
Scare
totalitarian.
times due to it being too totalitarianism, along with its book that went along with it, which was like, what was it titled, like Wild or?
Call of the Wild.
Call of
Yes.
the Wild.
So,
Well,
interesting.
that young man, who you've just heard, is brilliant, and he works here at the bookstore, and we're going to be interviewing Hayden after I interview Larry. Hang on for that. He's so smart. I will not have to speak at all. I don't have to speak with you either, but I tend to run
No,
off
you
at
need
the
to
mouth.
guide me. You need to guide me.
Take another book and we'll talk about it,
Okay.
because it will deal with an issue or not.
Well, we got the whole Hunger Games.
I couldn't
which
read those
I
because of the
haven't-
violence, but
I haven't read them. I really haven't, to be
I
honest with
actually
you.
can talk about these.
You can talk about those.
and when you get your chance.
I know.
Henry Miller, of
oh,
course.
take Henry Miller. Is that June? Henry in June?
No, it's Tropic of Cancer.
Tropic of Cancer.
And Tropic of Capricorn. His Tropic of Cancer was, at the time, it was a very sexualized book. And a lot of Henry Miller's stuff, because he was with Anais Nin. That
I
was
know.
his
I've read all of
his
her
partner. in the House of Love. What is that? Delta of Venus, and then Spy in the House of Love. I think those are her two most
Well,
famous books. But those
she's
two
just
were
terrific.
lovers.
Yeah, and he wrote
And
about it, but
Friends.
when he wrote Henry and June, which wasn't about Anais and Nin, it was another book that my friend from Switzerland gave me and said, don't let your children read this.
Wow.
But not yet. And when my daughter was in her late teens, I took it out of my room and I said, Henry Miller could really write.
Oh, he could.
So check this out. And I'm not saying it hooked her on Henry Miller, but he was certainly one of the foremost open-minded people one
Oh,
would
very
ever hope
much
to
so.
meet.
Very much so.
And-
I've always loved Henry Miller. I
Yeah.
loved his travel blogs that he's done on Greece. But another one, Harriet the Spy.
I haven't read this.
It's a young adult children's book, Harriet the Spy. It was made into a movie, I believe. That's been banned.
And because it
One
mentions
Flew
words-
Over the Cuckoo's
Oh!
Nest, which
Everybody has either seen the movie or read the book or both. And the book is pretty close to what the movie was. So either way, if you've ever been in an institution of any kind or have relatives, friends who have been in an institution that in the old days, not even so old, and maybe even in many today, where drugs controlled the patients, therefore there was no therapy, there was no improvement, there was no generosity of spirit from the medical profession.
at all.
It was cruel. And
It was a snake pit. I remember.
oh, the
do you-
snake pit!
the
Did you
snake
read
pit.
that?
The Snake Pit. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
That was horrible.
It's about a woman who is kind of forced
Thrown-
into a situation, and in those days they could actually put you in an institution
Hospitalize you
without your
without
consent.
your consent.
And
That was a
we've come so
horrible-
far, but we're going back in time if we can't admit that things were not good in those days. Just because it's uncomfortable to read doesn't mean it didn't exist. We can't whitewash our history through the censorship or the banning of books. Go on, Larry.
Well, Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. Anything by Toni Morrison, pretty much you can expect is going to be banned.
What is this about? I have not read this one.
I read that so long ago that I just remember the opening scene.
Which
to be
was?
honest with you, a man who wants to fly off the top of the roof. He thinks he has wings.
Well, Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings wrote The Yearling, and Fodderwing did the same thing off the barn.
Right. That was the opening scene in that.
Really, it's sort of right up my alley as I love aviation.
There you go.
And they banned it. And it's dedicated
And a lot of these
to
places,
Father.
they haven't necessarily been banned nationwide, but a lot of them have been banned state-wise. Of course, a lot of them have been in Florida.
Or
There's
Oh!
Ohio.
Ohio loves banning books.
How about Tennessee banning other things?
No, but if you're in Wisconsin, they're gonna sue you.
They've just got a new Supreme Court justice.
Back in the 90s, they were banning like a ton of books in like Wisconsin and Louisiana, and apparently they decided to randomly just start suing the authors or the people like trying not to ban them. It's a really confusing thing. It went all the way up to like the court and everything.
We'll talk when I talk to you. It's Larry's turn. But you are an amazingly brilliant young man.
It's my turn.
Sorry, I'm just helping.
It's okay. No, we'll help with you later. You keep me going. I can't. Your mind is much better than mine. Get out Middlesex for me, please, because this is a book I love. Wally Lamb.
Not Wally Lamb. Jeffrey Eugenides.
Sorry.
Wally Lamb, you were thinking of She's Come Undone. With the girl who needs to lose weight or wants to lose weight because she's heavy. But he's written some wonderful books. Most of all of his books have been well received with Oprah's book clubs.
Well, I'm not really thrilled about Oprah.
I'm not either, but
you and I were the first
she's
people to
been
admit that to one another.
She's been doing the book thing for a while, and it's taken off. It's got a lot of people to read.
Yep.
I can't look down on anybody that does that, or at least tries. I mean, I try and get people to read. And not that I'm supposed to be looked up to or looked great upon, but I try and make sure that people leave here with a book in their hand.
Well, you broadened my horizons greatly.
Thank you.
Middlesex. I read this 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's about a very true happening. It's happened to some people I know. They are born with
both sexes.
Both sexes within their bodies, so hormones there haven't been decided, and quite often up until just recently, if you were born with male genitalia and female genitalia, they would just lop off what showed,
Right.
and tell you what you were, and then terrible psychological problems with that later on. But this book opened my eyes. I had never really seen anything like that in writing before.
No, the voice was incredible. The voice was just incredible.
It was a gentle and yet honest way of learning what they went through. And in my adult life, I've met people who had been so tortured in their youth by that terrible decision made by the physicians and parents before the child had reached an adult age that they could decide themselves what they wanted to be. And it broke my heart. But at least this one lived on and
No,
did
that
well.
was a terrific book. It won the Pulitzer Prize.
Yeah, and it can't be banned. If you want to get a banned book, you're going to have to come to Larry's store and pick them up before we're not allowed to anymore. In Alsace-Lorraine, just before World War II, was the very first book burning by the Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
To me, when you take away literature of any kind, it is literature. When you take it away from the general population, you take away free choice.
You do. You do.
You take away, well, the First Amendment, I was told once by someone I was married to, who's counting? Anyway, he was wonderful. We're still friends. He's a brilliant constitutional attorney. And
I didn't know there was such a thing.
he really is. But he's so ethical
Mm-hmm.
that he's always pro bono.
That's good.
And he's just an amazing human being. But he told me that the First Amendment was not so much that I was allowed to speak my piece, but it was his right to hear my opinion. Totally gave me a new view of the First Amendment. It's not my right to speak as much as it's your right to hear. Are we stopping you from buying books? Okay. Jump in anytime. This man does. Anyway, let's take out another book and off we go.
Let's see. We did Harry Potter.
Yeah.
American Tragedy by Theodore Dreiser. It doesn't have a really large body of work. He's written Sister Carrie, which is a wonderful book, and the American Tragedy book was banned. I'm not exactly sure why. It could have been the violence because of the murder that takes place in the book, but all of these things are so they're flimsy and thinly veiled.
Thinly veiled.
Thinly veiled, and
That's an anorexic bride. Sorry. Sorry.
no, no, but these are all thinly veiled ways of changing the way you think about things, the way you think about your life, the way you think about other people's lives. And taking away books like this is just, it's so close to being a police state. I did mean to say that, police, not police. By banning these books. I mean, we all should have an opportunity to read them. We should all have an opportunity to purchase them if we want to without anyone giving us a side eye or giving us a hassle because we want to read 1984 or we want to read I Never Promised You a Rose Garden, which I remember when that came out. We had to read that in school. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the books that are in this box alone deal with gender identity. They deal with mental health, mental illness, mental health. Even kids with the Harry Potter books. I mean, you're suppressing imagination, and that's basically what I have a problem with. I mean, I have a problem with somebody telling you can't do something, but I also
If you don't want it, don't buy it.
Don't buy it. If you don't want to read it, don't read it. If you want to try something different, you want to try something because it's not because it's titillating in any way, but because it's it interests you, it's a subject matter that interests you, then please feel free to come down and browse through the books. I'll be more than happy to tell you which is which and why and for how much.
And it's not much.
It's not much at all.
Well, give me a hug, Larry. I love you too. I love your store too. Anyway, we're going to send your working person on
I'm going to
here.
send my helper on.
Thank you very much.
They would like to do some purchases if you're able to.
Yep, I'll do that right now. Thank you.
That was Larry. And Larry Bradley, one of a kind. One of a kind. Very, very brilliant. Very artistic in his own words. And he loves to share what he has in his store. Get it while you can, folks. And here we have Hayden.
Hello,
Now, you gave me your full name before, even with your middle name.
Hayden Joseph White.
How do you do?
Good. I am a inspiring writer and historian. Not yet in college. I'm just really into books and history.
Your era, your favorite era in history would be?
Well, not really era. I'm more into like a certain part of the world. Eurasia and Oceania. Oceania specifically just because of how little research is done into that specifically region.
Have you read Caribbean by Michener?
No, that would be not Oceania. That would be North America / South America.
Oh.
Oceania is Australia, New Zealand, and all those other islands in the Pacific.
Oh, I thought it was everything about everywhere that was in an ocean, because I used to work
No, it's literally the name of the continent.
in... Bless your heart. You see, I told you he was smarter than I am, and ever so much better versed. Would you like to take a look at this? You now work with Larry, and what drew you to this particular store?
Well, I was looking for a job. There's a program at my school that like gets people jobs, like helps them. They usually paid for them. The owner doesn't usually unless it's like full-time hired. And out of a lumber company that tried to hire me, Tractor Supplies for some reason, and this place, I chose this place just because I love books. I've been I used to actually not really like books. I used to think, oh, I'm just gonna have somebody read to me forever. And then in like near the end of first grade, I think it was, my school introduced the Scholastic Reading Challenge.
Oh, I had that.
I
loved
absolutely
it.
loved it, and it actually got me into reading to the point of like for the next until I was like the end of 8th grade, I was the top reader in my entire school. I actually got a trophy at the end. They made a trophy for me. Every year I read between 20 to 30,000 minutes, I believe it was. Every summer it seemed to increase. Like first was 22,000, and I think the final summer was like 40,000 hours. Not hours, minutes. There's not that many hours in a year, I think.
Well, I don't know how many hours are in a year, but I know that your head has retained a tremendous amount of the words and hours you've spent reading.
Yeah, back when I first started, I actually self-taught myself a lot of words to an extreme point that I was a little ahead of everyone in words I knew. I didn't know what some of them meant. I just knew how to pronounce them and stuff like that.
Well, that's great. What are you holding in your hand here?
A couple banned books that I specifically like. Some of them I've read, some of them I have not. I have not read 1984. I tried to read it so many times. I do not like it, but I do not think it should be a banned book. This book specifically actually warns the sort of thing that happens when you start banning stuff because you find it immoral or you just do not like it. You just do not want people to like it if you do not like it, or it might cause uprisings. Specifically, the Hunger Games, one of the lesser known reasons, but nevertheless, still a reason somebody tried to ban it was that it would, quote unquote, disable the family. It would cause, like, violence.
Destabilize the family.
And also, one case I saw was that somebody claimed it would cause youth to rebel against authoritarian figures.
What's new?
On their own for themselves.
They better rebel against authoritarian figures because that's what youth is all about. I wasn't allowed to rebel the way, to carry arms in my kitchen and rebel against my family. But there were resistances that I did that were very natural. And I read constantly. And I read books that the school wasn't providing. I read books that were recommended by my mom. And they were all books that I'm sure some of my friends still haven't been able to read because they were so realistic. But I still had that push against even the freedom of literature I was given, even the freedom of voice I was given. I still had resistance. So I don't think anything is going to take a teenager and make them more rebellious.
Actually, the book, I think the first documented case of this book officially getting banned, actually, in a school district was in a small town in New Hampshire, sadly our neighbor. Are
you sad because New Hampshire's our neighbor, or is it sad because something happened there?
Yes.
Okay.
Both. Yes, there's some squabbling between our states, but anyway, the official reason for that school district is because some parent complained that the series, The Hunger Games, gave her child nightmares because the school had it as a reading thing in their class. The school offered to take her off the program, and the parent was like, "No, ban it."
Did they ban it?
Yes.
Crumzola. What's this one?
Wonder. I actually just learned today this book is banned, sadly. My school had forced us to read it, and I absolutely love this book.
What's it about?
It's about a kid that was born with a facial deformity, and at first he cannot go to school. He later on, around 5th or 6th grade, I believe it was, like the beginning of middle school, he's finally able to go to school, and it's really tough in the sense of people are constantly bullying him. Some people are nice to him, editors call him freak and stuff. And it seems that the main reason this book is banned is the use of some derogatory languages, and also the fact that it's just depressing, apparently.
Life is depressing sometimes.
Which actually brings me on to another book, which we do not have here, sadly, but it is one that actually kind of made me chuckle for the reason why it was banned, which is because it was so stupid, it was just funny.
What was it?
Anne Frank, Diary of a Young Girl, was banned.
Why?
Because it was, to quote one of the people in the United States, it was just too gosh dang depressing.
I taught Holocaust studies, folks.
I'm actually in Holocaust studies right now.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, we were learning about genocides, but right now it's Holocaust currently. I have my backpack with me. I have a banned book in there too, Mouse, which my school is having us read.
Mao is banned?
Mouse.
Oh.
M-A-U-S.
Graphic novel, M-A-U-S, by Art Spiegelman.
I haven't read it.
Oh, it's about cat and mouse, and the cat is the German and the mouse is the Jew, and
oh my God,
it's so well done. It won the Pulitzer Prize too.
It should. Definitely.
Back in the 80s or 90s, I think it was published, but when the full edition came out, they kind of just went on a instant book banning of it in some states, and it kind of just caused more people to buy it.
A book got me interested in the Holocaust. My mother was an invalid. We only shopped together twice in my life. Once when I was 11, and we left the cottage to go to the laundromat in Magog. My dad drove, but my mother came. And it's about a 22-mile drive from the cottage. And my mother got out of the car, and we walked into sort of a soda jerk shop / drugstore, and it had books there. And she was still walking, so it was amazing. She walked right over to the book stand, and she took out this book called The Holocaust. And she put it in my hand and said, "They'll never teach you this at school," which is how she always preliminarily, what was it when you preface someone?
You have a premonition almost of what things are going to be like for your school.
And she prefaced every introduction to every book she gave me with, "They'll never teach you this in school," which was an incentive to read it. Mm-hmm. Now, that's the same as saying books are banned, read it now. There's a pressure on you. You have to read it because the information may be taken away from you. But my mother set me on the course that I'm on and have been on ever since, which is fighting for causes.
And the other thing, too, is as far as banning the books go, you don't want to shame somebody because they've decided they want to read a classic. They want to read. I had just done a post on Facebook about this. You don't want to shame somebody who's suddenly reading The Great Gatsby because it's their first time. It's almost virgin territory, a book like that, when you have not read it before. And to be pretentious about it and to be shameful about it to somebody who has yet to read it is just as bad as banning.
You're right.
It's just as bad as banning. It's one thing to voice your opinion and say, you know what, I don't like Harry Potter. I don't like Harry Potter at all.
I do not like the author, but I can.
Yeah.
But I was okay with the movies. I didn't finish them because I
thing
kind
to
of
say
crushed
why
one of
you
the
can't read it.
CDs.
Yeah, well, this is the point that Larry's making.
That you by me saying that it's not a good book, I don't want to tell you not to read it. If you want to read this book, I'm not going to shame you because you want to read this book. I'm not going to tell you can't read this book. That's not my place. The book will tell you what to do. The book will speak to you in some way. Does that make sense?
Yes, which is currently the problem with current things going on. Both the 2 generations ago, not going to say their names, and the current generation, my generation, sadly, not counting the ones that are 6-year-old because a brand new one started in 2010, but the one prior to that, the Gen Z, seems to be going on this giant morality thing, like, for different reasons. One's for, like, banning books because they find them sexual, and the other's one's for, like, banning, like, things they find offensive. Same general idea, banning things just because they do not want people to, like, read it because it might, in some cases, they think that will cause people to, like, emulate the things they see inside the books or the media. And in some cases, they just find it offensive. And that is never a reason to make sure that nobody can enjoy it. Like, there were some absolutely disgusting books I saw on that list I would probably not read that went into some land that I would not like. But I'm not going to stop people from reading it.
Good for you.
I'm not going to shame them. I'm just going to go like, oh, you were reading that book? Okay.
No, you don't even say that. Because that gives a little bit of attitude.
Bias. It
A
gives
little
it
attitude
bias,
there.
and it suggests
Well,
that
actually, what I probably would say is just nothing because I'm not really a talkative person. And
Really?
You're so you
compared to the internet, I am really quiet.
Yes.
You
it's
are.
True.
You are.
But you're a gem of a man. Let's look at some other books that might offend.
This one,
What is that?
Esperanza Rising. This was a book that I actually was suspected to be banned, and after going through like 30 articles, I finally found it was banned. It wasn't widely banned. This book is about, if you read the back, I had to reread it because it's been years since I read it in school. But it's basically about a woman and her family who emigrate from Mexico to the United States.
This is a true story about an actress, right?
I do not remember. All I know is it takes place during the Depression. It's been years since I read it.
Salt of the Earth.
But, again, it took me so long to find why it was banned, and for the most part, it seems it was banned just for bringing up, like the whole thing of people being against immigration and stuff like that.
Okay, I'm not sure because I'm not wearing my glasses, but there was a movie called Salt of the Earth, and the star was an Esperanza, and she was blackballed and not allowed to act after this movie, Salt of the Earth, black and white. Go and check it out, because it was so true about migrant workers. It was about unionization. It was about things that were totally not allowed by the powers that be in those days. So, if that's her, it sounds like it could be. She was actually blackballed.
Seeing if there's like any others I recognize. I still need
Well,
to get.
how about Kite Runner?
Kite Runner.
Kite Runner. Oh, sorry. Did
I have not read that. I need to get more into reading more classical literature. I've kind of been sticking to my young adult novels about animals in the wild for way too long.
Jack London.
No, it's Warrior Cats by Aaron Hunter. They are not on a banned list, so we can't display them in this.
No, but you talked about Jack London before, as if you knew Call of the Wild.
I have not read that either. I've only actually learned about it recently, the book.
It's
But
about
it's
the
not a bad
Klondike.
thing.
I'm kind of
amazing.
I
I
went
love
in a
everything he ever
phase for
wrote.
like a year or two where I stopped reading, mostly because of high school and me getting interested in some communities
Stop.
online.
I stopped reading mostly because of high school. No kidding.
But that wasn't the full reason. Again, I was getting into some online communities and I was getting busy. I still read occasionally, but it kind of slowed down me reading more and more books. And I've been getting back into reading as of late and trying to like move towards horror and classic novels. That
Like what?
I got a Stephen King book
Insomnia
today.
by Stephen King. Oh, you'll love that.
I actually brought in 3 books that I donated to the store today, and I ended up being able to get this one for free just because of that.
Show it.
This is Insomnia. I wish we had more Stephen King books here.
They don't stay. They get
don't stay.
boom.
They're
I
gone.
know. Show it to the camera here. I read this, folks. It's fantastic. My favorite book by Stephen King is The Stand, The Battle of Good Against
Stand.
Evil. Get it if you can. Come on in. Do you have The Stand? You had it here at one
I
point.
don't have the stand right now.
I actually probably would have taken that one if you did.
This is also excellent. But The Stand, Stephen King, and I'll tell you, it's a true story about myself. Before I became librarian in East Berkshire, I never read. I had never read a Stephen King because I was ignorant as a reading snob. I read biography, I read history, I read art, I read nonfiction all the time. I admit I looked down my nose at anybody who read fiction. That was so ignorant of me. Well, that town certainly put me on my toes. They would come in and say, "Do you have Stephen King?" And I said, "Oh, certainly not. This is my library," you know. And they started donating books, and they would bring in a book by Stephen King, and they'd say, "Heather, you should read this. Open your mind." I said, "Well, it's scary, isn't it? Read it." And I would learn something. Learn something. Stephen King is brilliant. It's always good against evil. It's always, you don't know where it's going to go. And a lot of it deals with human nature.
Oh, I agree.
And I love Stephen King, especially The Stand. So yes,
Just trying to put these back, that's all.
it's okay. Well, I'll just take these and go home.
No! We need to sell those.
Well, I wouldn't just take them. I didn't
Um,
spend all my money on your drink. I had to get him a drink to get him on the
hey,
show.
I asked. I did not force her to. I didn't hold her down, tie her to a railroad, and go, "I'll untie you if you buy me
No,
an orange
you know
soda."
what? If you had held me down and tied me to a railroad track, you would have been banned.
Here it is, guys. I am officially a banned book.
Yes, but you said you're an aspiring writer, too. What do you write?
Well, right now I'm working on a fan fiction with my writer's block, but I do have actual original ideas in the back burner. I've occasionally touched them years ago. I used to be more writing back like in middle school, but I've been hitting massive roadblocks as of late. You know, like just writer's block. Like I'll be writing for a couple days, and then for the next 6 months, I'll just be out of ideas.
That's okay.
Like, I have ideas. I just don't know how to execute them in a sense of where you'll like them. Like
Don't worry about what I like.
I'm really self-conscious in the sense of like my writing style. I feel either I'll be doing too much description
Let me
or
just
too
interrupt
much
you for a second.
talking.
No, not too much talking at all. But you are giving me a run for my money. Let me tell you something I used to tell my students. Because for 30 years I went to all the schools with my newspaper, and I'd give them, and I can't write. And I would have each class write for my paper. So, I would say, it's not what you write. It's no one else. Don't put that word in my mind before it comes out of yours. Don't think what I'd like to read. If you have something to describe it in your words. Just the way you speak, because you're the only one who can present it that way. How unique, how marvelous, how gifted. And it doesn't have to be Shakespeare, because I wouldn't read it.
I don't like Shakespeare.
Hey, high five. I'm sorry, it's not
Or
like I
Edgar
dislike him,
Allan
nothing
Poe.
personal.
Sadly, I've tried.
Oh.
I do not care for
You're
his
in the
book.
Nevermore Bookstore, for heaven's sakes.
They forced me to read the Tall Tale Heart like 10
The
times
Tall Tale
in school.
It was the beating of the old man.
For 5 years in a row, they just kept making me
That
read it
eye.
again and again and again. And
I was introduced to Edgar Allan Poe with that story in 6th grade by
The books
I
are
get excited,
attacking.
by Mr. Lee Elmore from Australia. He was my grade 6 teacher. He got fired at Christmas time, broke my heart. And he taught off book, but he was the one who introduced me to Edgar Allan Poe. because he acted it out. He read that book out loud to us. It was the beating of the old man's heart, and that eye.
That eye.
Oh, I'm glad I don't have blue eyes. You know, it's like I'd be cursed if I could get one. If I could get one contact lens just to put a blue eye in there, then I'd walk around your store as your mascot. Anyway, you know what, my love? I'm going to walk around the store now with Larry and the camera.
I do want to talk about one last thing about my
Please
writing.
do.
Well, technically it's two things, but the first is what kind of writing I do. I mostly focus on science fiction, not in the sense of traveling through space, more in the sense of like time machines or like superheroes, you know, like stuff like that.
H.G. Wells meets Superman. Meets Marvel.
Well,
Meets Marvel.
there are two. One of my books I want to write someday. Well, actually, no, two of them that I think about it are actually based off a dream. One of them is the not Markiplier. Why am I saying a YouTuber? The Marxists, which is basically they travel to an alternate dimension of the, but in that dimension everything has gone to hell pretty much.
You're going to Tennessee?
But at the same time,
Florida.
the government is also trying to get there at the same time that some kids end up accidentally in that world, and they kind of want to like raid the world for resources. It's really weird, just as all dreams are. But that's where most of the ideas come from. And the other one is Yesterday Today, which is the idea of this high schooler that ends up waking up one day back in kindergarten. He has the body of a kindergartner but the mind of, you know, like a teenager, so he's able to speed through classes and stuff ensues. It's, you know, like at the same time he's still trying to get back to the present. He's trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah, we all are.
But one of the things I wanted to read before you can, you know, like chuck me out the window to get rid of me, was I wanted to see if I could read you like a tiny part of the prologue in my fan fiction, which is like my most recent, you know, like actual writing that is up to like with my kind of writing style.
I'll give you a paragraph and then we're gonna move on with Larry.
That was actually the plan. I just need to read through the thousands of allegiances. By the way, this is a fan fiction, not original idea. It's based off an existing IP. It was night, and the stars were shining. A stream was rippling, and the trees were rustling in the wind. A shadow of an animal appeared and rushed through the water towards the shape of a gray cat.
That's nice.
I was going to read the dialogue. It's kind of cringy.
Okay, well that was very, very pretty. Read it again, please. I think that's very pretty.
I just turned off the damn phone.
Okay, never mind.
No, I'll turn it back on.
It's okay. You'll be my guest again.
No, I can read it again.
Okay.
I was mostly joking. It was night, and the stars were shining. A stream was rippling, and the trees were rustling in the wind. A shadow of an animal appeared and rushed towards the water, towards the shape of a gray cat.
Yeah, I think it's pretty.
Not as good as the actual books.
I could hear it.
The voice.
Yeah, very nice.
I tend to go into British accents and documentary accents, as I like to call them, when I start reading something official.
Oh, just wait. Before I leave the camera, I'd just like to thank Hayden for being a wonderful guest. I'm sure you agree. This is the young people. This is a young child.
I have a YouTube channel.
Go ahead. But I just listened to this young man. Don't you think that young people just know so much? There you go.
Can I mention my channel?
Yes, please.
Leaf Pool.
LEAFPOOL.
2014.
2014.
Gaming.
We'd like to thank this young man, Hayden, for being on the show. He'll be on our show again and guest with us again. And now I'm going to follow Larry around the store. So, Larry, are you going to take me on a little tour?
Sure. What would you like to see? We'll start here. This is the fantasy section.
Fantasy section.
So I bring you right to the
I will follow
fantasy.
you. Tell us what you have here.
This is all writers from Piers Anthony to Stephen Lawhead to Margaret Weiss. This is the first section you see in the store.
It's the section I always visit.
You always love the Tolkien. And yes, we do have The Hobbit in Italian.
Yeah, I had it in German too.
Well, you have it in Italian.
I might have to take it. Thanks, Larry. Following you now.
This is the Western section. And it
Is
flows over to the other side.
Zane Grey and such as.
Yeah, Zane Grey, Louis L'Amour, who everybody knows Louis L'Amour.
Oh yes. Oh, look at this. You even got a little pony up here. You've decorated this place to be such a beautiful, welcoming area.
Throw a couple of things up, you know.
Yeah.
Try to. And this over here is a continuation of the westerns, and this is the horror section. And
What's the most popular section when people come in?
You know, it's funny. I find a lot of people come here, and they never make it past the fantasy section. And I don't have any of this. I don't have any of the sections labeled, and I do that for a reason, because it forces you to come through the store and experience it on your own, rather than finding, okay, here's the mystery section, here's the romance section.
It is an experience.
So you are experiencing a lot of people will not make it past the fantasy section, not because of fantasy, but because it's just they find something there and they think, my God, I would never read a fantasy novel in all my life. And here I find myself buying something by whoever, Stephen Lawhead or one of the other fantasists.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I have this romance section, which I've been trying to get rid of for...
Nobody reads romance anymore?
No.
Oh, okay, let's
Not
skip
really.
it. I've never read a romance.
I've read one. I've read Danielle Steele's Daddy. This is the one I read. I got to page 40 and I threw it across the room and I said I wouldn't do that to myself.
I know.
So-
My kids and I had a joke about Danielle Steele. Sorry, Danielle. I respect writers, but
This is a science fiction section. This is
Oh.
a nice... It's actually thinning out because I've been busy with the science fiction people. These are the surprising things, the fantasy and the science fiction that sell here. Even the westerns is a big surprise. You would think that, okay, people are just going to buy fiction, just going to buy nonfiction, children's books, cookbooks. But yeah, from here you can see the cookbooks here, right to your... They're all cookbooks.
wow, you have such a selection.
Children's sections over here.
I actually bought one of the cookbooks.
Yes, you did.
This.
This is a children's section.
Oh, the little
Spirituality.
child.
I recently resorted the entire children's section.
Yes, he did. He did a great job.
It looks beautiful. I come here every time someone has a baby, or anytime,
Good. Good.
and it's just, these are great little presents, folks. And on Halloween, I came in here to buy children's books they pass out at Halloween. I'm not the most popular adult in my community,
And I
but
have this section. It says poorly. I need to redo the sign for it, but it's creating young readers. What I do is I wrap books up in newspaper. I randomly pick 3 or 4 books, usually 3 books for the kids. And when you come in, I want to make sure that you don't leave empty-handed, that you have something to read. So I have the read to me section, which obviously is reading a book to a child, and then the males and the females, the girls and the boys. And you can pick out whatever one you want. If you want to pick out a boy's book and you're a girl, or a girl's book and you're a boy, you can do whatever you want to do. Yeah. So this is the spirituality section down here. Got the love signs from Linda Goodman.
I don't know that one.
Oh God, Linda Goodman. She's from back in the 70s.
Well, I'm from back in the 50s.
Well, I know. I'm back in the 60s.
I'm back in early 2000s.
Oh, there's one in
shut
every
up.
crowd.
Shut up.
Before everything went to hell.
Some comic books here that are for sale. It's just a set of...
Are they collector's items? They look
They
like
are. They're in plastic. There's 2 Tarzan comics per package. And, yeah, so there's probably 8 or 9 or 10 of them with a double package. So there's probably
Oh, what a collect!
15 or something for $40.
Is that right?
That's right.
Fantastic.
That is right.
Well, all the prices in here are good.
This is the mystery section. It's kind of overwhelming. If you like suspense, thrillers, that kind of thing, that's your section.
Oh, do you know that my son got me to read a Clive Cussler book?
Oh, did he?
And it was called Sound... I forget what it was called, but it was about a sound effect of some sort. But he's such a good writer that I actually felt the throbbing in my ears
Did you really?
when I read it, and so he has my respect.
No, he's been long gone. But they still keep pumping out Clive Cussler books
Of
every
course
year.
they do.
Same with Tom Clancy.
Yeah, funny how that works, eh?
It is amazing.
Yeah.
This is sort of the collectible section.
Yes, I spent time here.
You know, I have a little bit of everything.
Oh, you do. It's great to see these old books too.
And this is an extension of it.
And once again, I must say that it's well presented and very well decorated.
Very dusty.
That makes a tome a tome. Be it ever so humble, there's nothing like a tome.
And then this is the nonfiction.
Oh, what? Here's my
This
Lenny
is-
Bruce. I'm
This is the
stealing
Lenny
this.
Bruce.
This is
Lenny
my
Bruce.
section.
I am buying that. Thank you.
And then this is fiction, poetry, art, dance, photography.
Nope, I'm still looking at this
Music.
section. Sorry, you lost
That's
me.
okay.
Would you like to repeat that because I was
This
up there
is
not
fiction.
paying attention to you?
Poetry, art, dance, theater,
Yeah, I love
photography.
that. I spent a lot of time
music.
in your poetry section, and let's go and see that.
Needs to be restocked.
I think I have all your books at home.
But this is an excellent book. This is a friend of mine who just won the award for the Vassar Miller Prize in Poetry.
May I buy that?
You may buy that.
Thank you. I love the poetry books you choose for me.
Hold that.
Do you know? Now you quote Anne Sexton a lot.
That's her behind you in the.
What is
picture.
what is your affection and where does it?
I really like. I mean, I'm not a confessional poet, but I really like the confessional poets: Anne Sexton, Sylvia Plath, John
yeah.
Berryman. Up here, there's John Berryman, Lucy Brock-Roydo. She's passed. Bridget McKeown Kelly.
Isn't she
She's
gorgeous?
passed. Yes.
Did she commit
Mary.
suicide? I know Plath did, but
These two didn't. No.
Okay.
Mary Oliver, a young picture of Mary Oliver, and then Walt Whitman.
oh, of course. I put Walt Whitman in my last painting because
But Anne Sexton and Sylvia Plath both did. They had a competition almost of who was going to kill themselves first.
I know, what a bummer.
And then this is sort of memoir, theater, plays. My Shakespeare's over here with these two.
Nobody puts
portraits.
Shakespeare in a corner. You do.
Shakespeare gets a corner.
Thanks. Sorry,
with
William.
these two pictures, which I don't know what they are or who they are.
My daughter loves pictures like that.
Yeah, I wish I had them free.
Somebody wants to know how long until you're done.
Hi, how are you?
Would you like to take me through this, Hayden?
I've not been here long. I don't hang out in this section enough.
Oh, take me to your favorite section.
I'm usually hanging out in the section that is not in these wall parts over
Okay.
here by the children's because I was sorting them,
Okay, well then, as long as I've already done that, the children's section looks great. But this is where I hang out a lot, and this is the art section. And the good thing about Larry, you can come in here and you can spend a whole day, you can spend an afternoon, you can take books and sit in these extremely comfortable chairs and read them
All right, I'm gonna put this on the desk right
right
now,
over here.
and I'll give you a call if I saw any.
Somebody's sitting here. Sorry, ma'am.
And you
May I
can
just
always
take?
feel free to stop
Would you like to
in.
be on NEK-TV?
Do you need my address?
Fine with me.
Great. What's your name?
I can get that.
Colleen Newbegin.
or a text or
Would you
whatever. I'll just
tell us why you love coming into the store?
way of contact.
I love books and anything about reading.
What's your favorite kind, if I may
Oh,
be
okay,
linear?
Samantha.
I read even the back of cereal boxes.
Oh, bless your heart.
So I read everything.
Good for you. And you like coming to Larry's store?
Yes.
Well, I Nevermore.
It feels like comfortable,
Well,
like you belong in it.
it's so true. I sit here, and at once when I first met Larry, I said, I'm going to come over and read your entire collected works of poetry. And I never have done that because he hasn't brought them here on the day that I'm here. But I love coming in here. My first words were, I feel home. I'm at home. And we're lucky to have it here in Newport.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for chatting.
No
You're
problem.
now famous. 6 people will watch this, and then we'll put it on YouTube, and you'll be known all over the world.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, Larry,
Okay,
I am so grateful for what you do here.
and of course, last but not least, my Vermont writers table over here. Pardon, no, just pardon that. This is my Vermont writers. I just had a lady drop off cookbooks,
Okay.
art, but I have art on the walls
Can you
from
name
all
some of the
local
wonderful
artists.
around here?
These two are from Ken Weatherby.
Oh, lovely, lovely.
Okay. These two here are Penny Thomas. This is Amanda Carter. She did the Willoughby Gap painting, and she did all of the ones along the top there that are full of color.
I really love her
birds,
style. My golly.
the roses, the butterflies. Penny Thomas did these here.
Wait, you're going too quickly. Oh, who did the sheep?
Penny Thomas.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
And then these paintings are down here are actually, this was a gift. Everybody gives me gifts of ravens. This I purchased from a local artist, and I ended up buying this from her, the owl, as well, because
Who's that?
Crystal Matthew,
I have two favorite animals in the world:
the owl.
owls and cows.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the original. This is the original
Raven from Nevermore.
raven for Nevermore, and that was done by a very good friend of mine.
Yeah. And certificate of recognition.
Oh yes, I did. I did a program for the summer, and I have another one down there that I haven't put up yet. Which we're not going to look at.
Well, what is that about?
It's another one. It's just we're not going to look at it right
It's
now
nice
because it's too
nice
cluttered.
To know that you're recognized.
It's too cluttered.
Anyway, Larry, I'm going to close off the show.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for being on.
Please
Life is
stop
Good.
in. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
What is your address?
It's 100 East Main Street. I'm on the backside of Buzzy's building, Buzzy's Redemption. And it's 100 East Main Street, not 100 Main Street. 100 Main Street gives you the DMV. 100 East Main, Suite 2 is my address here.
And there's
And
Eagles.
you'll get me.
Well, I hope everyone comes. Anyone watching this show, I hope you've been inspired, and I hope you realize that we do have great talent in literature in this town, and the Northeast Kingdom is very appreciative of that, and I hope they all come in. Thanks everybody for watching Life is Good. See you soon.
Thank
Pop
you.
the buzzard and the Oreo. He rocks in the treetop all the day long, hopping and a bopping and a singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, rock, rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, tweet. Slow rockin' Robin, 'cause we're really gonna rock tonight.